Hello and welcome to episode number 229 of the Launch Lounge podcast. Today we're diving into three major changes coming to Meta ads in 2025 that could make or break your advertising success. Whether you're currently running ads or planning to start, these shifts will impact how you reach your ideal customers and grow your business. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly what's changing and have an action plan to stay ahead of the curve. So grab your coffee and let's dive in. Hello, friends. It's so nice to be here with you today. It is so close to Christmas. It's that weird time when we're all like, can it just be Christmas now already? And it's almost Christmas. You know, that moment where you're like, how did this happen so quickly? But also, can it just happen a little bit more quicker? A little more quicker. Yeah, that's beautiful English there, Salome. Well done. I hope you're well. I hope you've got your shopping done. I hope you've got your family members' sleeping arrangements done. I do not. I will be kicking one of my kids out of her bed and moving her into my office. And so before this weekend, I have to start rearranging my office so that I can turn it into a bedroom for her so that her grandmother and grandfather can take over her bedroom. Wherever you find yourself listening today, I hope that you are well and that you are looking forward to the festive season. I want to talk to you today about, I'm going to kind of play a little bit of crystal ball here. But I am not a future teller by guessing what I think is going to happen. I am going to tell you the future based on what is already happening and what is already unfolding. And if you've been following me for a while, you might know that I have often confessed to being a little bit of a Pollyanna. Believing that everything's going to be okay and that bad things are never going to happen. And then, I find myself 3 months into COVID, still believing COVID's not going to happen. Or a year down the track from all the iOS updates, believing that it's not going to impact our ads. And then it does. And so life and business and, just a lot of things in this life and world has taught me in the last few years, maybe 5 years, to maybe sometimes take my Pollyanna hat off and look at things for what they are. I think there's power in seeing things for what they are instead of what we want them to be. So I'm going to share with you 3 changes that are not new. They are changes that have been happening this entire year, and they are changes that are just going to continue to happen. And we've got to pivot. There it is. I said the P word. We've got to change. We've got to adapt. We've got to look into the future and ask ourselves, or maybe look into history and ask ourselves, what has history taught us that we can now apply to where we think the future is going, and better prepare our businesses and better prepare ourselves to stay net positive, to stay profitable, and to continue to grow. Because if it's not green and growing, then it is dying. So let's try to get your ads in a place where it is green and growing and thriving despite the changes that are happening to our ads. The 3 elements, the 3 pieces we're going to talk about is AI-driven ad targeting, specifically Advantage Plus targeting. I have spoken a lot this year about Advantage Plus targeting. For those of you who have been here will know that I don't have much love for Advantage Plus targeting. I don't love it. I think I'm disappointed in Meta for being so incredibly slow to have good AI. Meta's AI is shite. I'm just going to say it. Sorry if you've got kids in the car with you, but it is bad and not getting better at any rate. If you consider the speed at which ChatGPT is improving, the speed at which Claude is improving, the speed at which new platforms, AI platforms, are coming out, Meta has just been left behind. And we're going to talk about AI-driven ad targeting today. The second point I'm going to discuss with you is the creative evolution, and how we're going to adapt to AI-driven placements, because that's the other big thing. And I think audience targeting has a bigger impact on the results of our ads. I think we're still in a place where the AI driven placements is kind of neither here nor there, but Meta's not forcing us to use their AI placements as much as they are with the audiences. So we do have some grace to play around with our creatives when it comes to AI. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about is just building an ecosystem, building a complete conversion ecosystem. And what I mean by a conversion ecosystem is not just relying on one ad, not just relying on one campaign, not relying on one lead magnet or even one entry point into your funnels, but building an entire ecosystem where you meet your ideal customer, where your ideal customer is at, with creative that speaks to their pain and their desires based on where they're at in their consideration of your product. I'll speak a little bit more about that. You'll know exactly what I mean. But those are the three main things we're going to cover today. So let's begin by talking about AI-driven ad targeting, which is the new normal. To give you a bit of background, if you've been around ads for a while, you'll remember the days when we solely relied on the pixel for tracking people around the internet. And then, we would put interests into the ads manager and say, hey, Meta, can you please go and find me people who are interested in a certain topic? I'll give you a great example. I was scrolling on Instagram the other day, and an ad popped up on my business account from a guy who was giving away 30 days to write a book, the structure for 30 days to write a book. And I thought, this is interesting. I want to look into this. And I downloaded his lead magnet. And literally within seconds after downloading that ebook, my newsfeed was flooded with people's offers for lead magnets for writing books, or people offering to write the book for me, or people wanting to teach me how to use AI to write my book. And so I was kind of tickled by I wondered, what did this first guy target for? How did this first guy get me? He must have thought a little bit outside the box with his targeting, because I had never expressed any interest in writing a book anywhere online that he could hook onto. But maybe he was targeting, I don't know, business coaches, or maybe he was targeting people who run ads, or people with Meta business pages, or maybe he just targeted a little bit differently, and everybody else was still targeting someone who's interested in learning how to publish a book or self-publishing, right? So guy number one got the business because guy number one thought a little bit outside the box. But historically, I would have been tracked by his pixels, and then that would have fed back to Meta, and the algorithm would have optimized, and then I still would have gotten all those other ads based on the information that came back from the pixel on that guy's page. And based on the fact that I then was identified to Meta as a person with an interest in books, right? In writing a book. Nowadays, we do not rely on the pixel anymore. It is not the pixel that feeds back the quality information. And this all came about as a result of the privacy policy changes. Started with GDPR and the EU changing their tracking rules, was adopted then by Apple when Apple rolled out iOS 14 and iOS 15 in 2021, 2022. They literally turned the Pixel into a one-eyed monster. The Pixel has no eyes anymore. It just has one, like half an eye. It's like a little pirate just trolling around the internet trying to see what it can see, but it can't really see very well. Meta's answer to that was Conversions API, and Conversions API is kind of like Big Brother. It's more of an eye in the sky because it uses your server to track you, uh, and it's more effective than Pixels. But so with the two together, we can still have tracking, but it's definitely not what it used to be in the heydays, where we would set up retargeting audiences for people who went to a specific landing page in the last 24 hours. Those days are gone, because we just can't get enough traffic to a single landing page and to retarget them within 24 hours. Those days are just gone. So what Meta has done to help us get our ads in front of more people and in front of the right people in our targeting is they've given us Advantage Plus. Advantage Plus is really a suite of products. There's Advantage Plus Audiences for targeting, Advantage Plus Creatives for all your creative thingies, and there's a few other Advantage Pluses that it's not coming to mind right now. But the important one to pay attention to is Advantage Plus Audiences, and the reason you need to pay attention to this is because when you're setting up ads at the moment, Meta is so sneaky, and they are pushing us towards using Advantage Plus audience targeting in ways that I think is misleading. Because if you go through the process of setting up a campaign, there are at least, I think I counted one day, about 7 opportunities they put in front of you to switch to Advantage Plus audience targeting. And if you are not paying attention, or if you're intimidated by the tech, or if you're not familiar with the platform, you may very well end up accidentally switching to Advantage Plus audience targeting. And it might not be the end of the world for you, but, well, it's not, because you're here, right? And you're listening to me and you know what to do. But like, if you don't know what you're doing, you could end up, sending your ad out to people who are never, ever, ever, ever going to become buying customers. And I'm super, like, I'm going to stand on my soapbox and shout about how annoyed I am that Meta is pushing people into Advantage Plus, because it does take away our control around who we can put our ad in front of. You want to still be in control of who sees your ad. Now, that doesn't mean Meta knows nothing. They do know a lot of things, and they can help us. And Advantage Plus audience targeting can be helpful if you put certain advertising restrictions in place. So you've got to change your audience targeting settings. And if you want to know how to do that, I have spoken about it a few times on the podcast. I have a blog post on my website called Stop Losing Meta Ad Sales, Your 2025 Guide to Privacy Changes and Conversion Tracking. I will link to that in the show notes. And I have a blog post up, a Meta Update, Preparing Your Account for Advantage Plus Audiences. If you go to the show notes for today's episode, that's episode 229, you'll find the links to both of those blog posts where you can read all about this. And you'll find step-by-step instructions on how to set up your audience targeting settings so that your audience is limited to the countries where your ideal customer lives, so that your audience is somewhat limited by gender, not completely, but somewhat. I don't know how they work that out. And somewhat limited by age. For me, that's important because I don't think I've ever had a student under the age of 35. I may be wrong, but I don't remember anyone. And I often have students over the age of 65. So age targeting matters to me. I don't want them putting my ads in front of anyone. And I particularly don't need like 19-year-old dudes, right? Who wants to make money on the internet and who thinks, it's just, I don't pay to put my ads in front of those. I also don't need their comments. So I definitely advise you to put those settings in place, and you can find them on my website. The impact on advertisers that this audience targeting thing is having is there's some good things about it and there's some bad things about it. We've discussed the bad things now. You know how I feel about not being in control of who sees your ads. But the good thing about this is Meta is really wanting us to use large open audiences. And the reason for this is that how the AI works to find to optimize our ads. In the olden days, back in the olden days when we had ox wagons and we, didn't wear shoes to school, that's how old I am in the internet world. Back in the olden days, how targeting used to work is you would give Meta a bunch of interests, right? Or a bunch of pages that you want to target. And that would form a bucket. And that bucket would be, let's say, 5 million people or 1 million people or however many million people. And people would already be in those buckets. They would be qualified as being in those buckets. And then Meta would basically have us bid against each other to get into the newsfeed of that bucket of people. And that's fine, right? But now how it works with AI is Meta is saying, open the interests. Let's not narrow them. We're not going to use buckets anymore. We're using the ocean. We're going to show your ads to the ocean and then make loads and loads and loads and loads of impressions of different creatives to different people. And based on how those people interact with your ads, the algorithm then optimizes. So if I'm placing my ad with a specific image and a specific headline and a specific call to action in front of a specific person, and that person stops scrolling and pays attention and maybe watch more than 3 seconds of my video, that is what we call top of funnel actions on your ad. So Meta use those actions to learn then. So the learning happens on the platform or in the app, right? They make thousands and thousands of impressions, hundreds, millions of thousands. There you go, millions of thousands of impressions, and then based on how people interact with the ad, they then start to optimize. So you've got this top of funnel heavy optimization, whereas in the past, the algorithm would optimize based on conversions. So based on those bottom of funnel actions, the algorithm would learn from the pixel that is placed on your thank you page. So when someone opts in for your lead magnet, they land on your thank you page, they're considered a conversion. That gets fed back to the algorithm, and the algorithm goes and finds you more people like that one who converted. So the quality of the leads were a lot better back in the day because of the optimization based on conversion that happened further down the funnel. Goodness me, I don't think I've ever said so many geeky words in one sentence. Are you still with me? Am I losing you over all this geeky stuff? Hang in there. Hang in there. Hang in there with me. Now, what the algorithm is doing is it's saying, everybody's welcome. And it's putting our ads in everybody's news feeds. But then when someone stops and they engages, the algorithm learns who's engaging. And then when someone clicks, the algorithm learns who's clicking, and then it puts it in more people's news feeds who are clicking. And then further down the track, it then optimizes for conversion. The upside to this is CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, have massively come down. Your CPM should be a tenth of the price it used to be 3 years ago, if you've been running ads this long. So getting in front of people is cheap. Getting your ads to optimize for conversions is harder, right? So we've got to start getting a little bit more clever in how we design our ad creative and how we target and match our creatives with our targeting a little bit better so that we kind of make up for this cheap front end. It's like a cheap date, right? There's benefits to a cheap date in that you're likely to get it. But the drawback is, you compromise on quality. That's what Meta has turned into. That's a brilliant metaphor. Meta has turned into the ultimate cheap date. But you don't want your ads to become cheap dates, right? So we need strategic account control. You're going to create those advertising settings that I spoke about. You're going to set those up, and then you're going to think through your specific demographic targeting. And later in the episode, I'm going to give you some examples from my own business of where I have made some changes to specific demographic targeting so that I put the absolute perfect ad in front of the perfect audience at the perfect time. And that means I have to create a whole bunch of different ads for a whole bunch of different audiences who are in a whole bunch of different places in terms of their awareness of their pain and the solution that I have to offer. Whew, that was the most geeked out I've ever been on this podcast, I think. But here's some action steps for you for this first part. Set up your country restrictions in your ad account settings. You can do that by following what I've got for you in the blog post called Meta Update Preparing Your Account for Advantage Audience Part 1. And I will link to it in the show notes. And this is episode 229. If you're looking for the show notes, you'll find it there. I want you to start using much broader interest suggestions instead of narrow targeting. You can test Advantage Plus audiences, but also test not using Advantage Plus. But when you're not using Advantage Plus, go super wide. You want your audience to be at least 10 million or more if you're targeting the US. 10 million or more. And then make sure you optimize your conversion tracking by using standard events and by having your conversions API set up on your account. So that is what you need to know in order to prepare your account, prepare your ads for AI-driven ad targeting, which is just going to become more and more of a thing. So remember, there's going to be more and more cheap dates around, right? But that doesn't mean you have to say yes to everyone, okay? You still want to find quality over quantity. The second thing that is changing at the moment and will continue to change into 2025 is the creative evolution, right? We're going to adapt our ad creative for AI-driven placements. And I wonder if you've noticed that the smarter AI is getting and the more AI is becoming part of everyday life of a marketer, becoming part of the way that marketers communicate with our audiences, is we are starting to become much more able to personalize everything because AI can help us understand data so much quicker. And so I think I talked about it in last week's episode where the episode called AI Told Me I Was Selling the Wrong Thing. If you haven't listened to that, go and listen to that episode. Because I uploaded some customer feedback, customer data to AI and basically discovered that I have been talking to people when they're in the wrong place in terms of their journey of being where they are as far as pain awareness and solution awareness is. So I've been pitching my product to people who are pain aware but not solution aware. And that's not necessarily the smartest place to pitch it because then there's a lot of work you have to do to still educate them on the opportunity. Today's episode is brought to you by Your First 10K Course Launch, the no overwhelm guide to converting your expertise into income. If you ever catch yourself thinking, I know I could help so many people if I could just figure out how to profitably launch my online course, you're not alone. Every day, brilliant creative entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants keep their knowledge locked in a one-on-one service because turning it into a scalable course feels too overwhelming. Here's the good news. Creating your first 10K course doesn't require you to become a marketing genius. I've packed everything you need from packaging your expertise to launching with confidence into this no overwhelm step by step guide. Head over to thelaunchlounge.com/10K to download your copy today. Don't let another day go by with your expertise stuck in time for money services. Your future students are waiting. But as we move into a AI-driven placements environment, this is where a Meta asks you when you're setting up your ads, where Meta will say, do you want to tick the box for AI for Advantage Plus placements? And I am a little bit indifferent. You can check the box or you can not check the box. I have not seen that checking the box makes such a big difference. What does make a difference is uploading creative variations for different placement types. So I don't let Meta just take let's say I created a newsfeed image ad. I don't just let Meta take that image and adapt it for stories and adapt it for reels. I will actually create a newsfeed option, which I design in 4x5 size. And then I will upload a creative version for stories and reels, which I create to be stories size because I don't mind that it stretches it out on the side a little bit for reels. But I make sure that I place the text kind of in the middle or above so that when it does show up in reels, my text isn't covered by that little bit of text that you see on reels. So I'm a little bit neither here nor there whether you use Advantage Plus placements. I have not seen it make a huge difference, but I am definitely going to recommend to you that you upload at least 2 variations of each of your creatives, one optimized for the newsfeed, one optimized for stories, which you then also use for reels. Alrighty. Um, and then run some different tests. I set up a campaign with 2 ad sets in it. So I put my budget at campaign level because I want the algorithm to choose which of the 2 ad sets it's going to show. And I put all of my image ads in one ad set and all of my video ads in another one. And it has been fascinating watching first the videos took off, which I kind of went, yeah, sure, video is the bomb, always. And then one day, suddenly, videos bombed and images took off. And it stayed like that for maybe 8 weeks. And then one day, suddenly, it's the opposite way around again. And I think it has to do probably with how people engage with the ads. If somebody shares an ad or if somebody comments on an ad, that engagement, remember we talked about how the algorithm is optimizing for those top of funnel actions. So if somebody comments on an ad, that is a really good engagement signal to Meta, and suddenly they're going to give preference to the ad set where there's more engagement happening on the creatives, because engagement indicates to Meta that people are interested in this, they like it. And the algorithm can see engagement much better when it happens on the platform than it's able to see conversions that happens on a landing page where it has to rely on the pixel, right? So create those 2 formats in 2025 so that your ads will continue to be shown to people in as many different places as possible where they're going to get it. I'll give you an example from my own life. If somebody wants to reach me with ads, those ads have to be in reels. I never look at stories. I'm not a stories girl. I don't ask me why. I don't have a reason why. I think it's just because it's lined up at the top. I never go there. I'm an up and down scroller, not a left and right scroller, I guess. And I love just clicking on any reel that I like, and then I just stay in the reels feed, and I just keep scrolling. And most of the time, when I'm on my personal account, it's sausage dogs and travel videos. That's what I get. I love it. It's so frivolous and joyful. I love it. And then when I'm on my business account, it's bros and let's write a book. Not really, not all of it. Some of it is good. Okay, so design for both places. I want you to I want you to write this down for your creative. I want you to write this down. Focus on clear benefit statements. The number of ads I see that talks about features in the ad creative or doesn't have a clear hook. If it's a video, it needs a clear hook. If it's an image, it needs a clear benefit, right? Just do this quick test before you upload your creative. Just ask yourself, I am my ideal customer. When I look at this image or video, is there a reason for me to care? Is this leading with why I should care? Or is it leading with what it's got for me? There's this video that keeps coming up on my newsfeed, and I still don't know what they're advertising. It's a guy who, I mean, by what I can see in his environment, he's a video maker of some kind. He's sitting in front of a bookcase, or there's some video tools in the background, or he's at his desk. There's a computer. The video starts with the line, people ask me all the time if this works in different industries. And then he continues to talk about how this works in different industries. And I've never watched the video long enough to find out what the heck he's talking about. But that is a very good example of what not to do. Sure, maybe people do ask you all the time if this will work in your industry. But when you're putting cold ads in front of cold audiences, you got to tell them what you're talking about first. And you got to make them care. You got to tell them why they should care about it. Now, let's pretend that guy was selling a course on how to create 30 days worth of Instagram reels from one podcast episode, right? He would have my attention if he just started with a hook, something simple like, hey, want to know how to turn your podcast into 30 videos for social media? And then he could go, people ask me all the time if this works in every niche. And I would be like, yeah, tell me all about this, please. But, it's just, there's no benefit for me. There's nothing to care about. So do the quick test. If I am my ideal customer, would I care? Are you giving me a reason to care? And then I want you to remember, I say this all the time on here, you are not an e-commerce business. You don't need new creatives all the time. You just need good ones that have been split tasted against each other. You can split taste and split taste and split taste until the cows come home. I will let you do that. That is fine. But if you're just switching ads that are working off and adding new creative because A, you're bored with the old creative, or B, some ads dude said you got to be testing new creative all the time. That dude works for an e-commerce business, and they work different than information businesses. So don't listen to the dude, please. Listen to me, because I'm going to help you scale your knowledge-based business with ads. So you need to keep your creative that's working. That creative is building up memory, and it is building up good juju for you in your algorithm and on those conversions. Those custom conversions are building up memory. And the better that memory gets, the better the algorithm gets at finding your ideal customer for you. If you had an e-commerce business, you are probably starting with an offer that you run cold ads to, and then retargeting people with more and more and more offers, right? So they do need new creative because they're showing their warm audiences, their middle of the funnel and bottom of the funnel ads to people 7 to 10 times to get that sale. But you're not getting a sale within 24, 48 hours of the first ad they see. You're building your list, you're filling your webinar, you're running book a call ads. Your stuff needs the luxury of time and learning. So don't change out your creatives, especially not because you're bored with them. Alrighty. Here's a little framework that I want to give you in terms of testing. Split taste always. Like I've just told you exactly what I did. You set up a campaign, set up two different ad sets, add your images or videos. Or you can set up a campaign, set up one ad set, and then set up two different ads and use the first thing you're going to test is your two different hooks. You've got to first get people's attention, and your hook does that. Your hook can be the first 3 seconds of your video, it can be the copy that's on your image, or it can be the very first line in your text, the text of your ad. So test hooks first. Next, taste headlines. Headlines and hooks go hand in hand. Our eyes usually, if you've seen that, is it the Fibonacci concept? I don't know, something like that. That thing that looks like a conch, a spiral, a shell, right? That principle of the shell. Our eyes move like that. So your eyes start at the top. It reads the first line of the copy, and then goes down to the headline, and then comes up to the image, and then back down. Now that's for an image ad in the newsfeed. With a reel, it might be different because reels, if it's a reel is a video, you're going to need that hook to be that very first moment that you start speaking. But so first taste your hooks, then taste your headlines, then taste your opening copy lines. Next, taste your landing pages. Sometimes people get so bogged down on tasting different creatives that they forget that getting the traffic is only half the battle. We're in it to convert the traffic. Facebook ads is just, and when I say Facebook ads, I mean meta ads. Ads is just traffic, and it is just a fire hose. You're putting that fire hose in front of a funnel, and if that funnel doesn't convert, then you're going to come back to me and you're going to tell me ads have never worked for my business. I want to rip my hair out of my head when people say that, because when they say that, what I hear is, I have tried ads so that it would save my marketing, but my marketing wasn't good enough to convert the traffic that I got from ads. And so instead of taking responsibility for my marketing that's not working, I'm just going to blame ads. And I kid you not, I have worked with people who have businesses over $2 million, make $2 million a year from their organic audiences. And then they want to run ads, and they expect ads to behave the same way, ad audiences to behave the same way their organic audiences behave. And because of the warmth of their organic audiences, they never properly learn to build funnels. And then they come to me and they say, well, let's run ads to this thing. And I explain to them the difference between warm traffic and cold traffic. And they say, no, let's throw money at it anyway. And 3 months down the track, I hear, well, ads doesn't work for my business. And I'm like, yeah, I told you, you need marketing. You need marketing, man. You need marketing. Alrighty, so now you have a creative testing framework that you can use to test your creative. And look, if you want to play around with placement, Advantage Plus placement, go for it. There is an option to turn certain placement functions on and off. Like I tend to turn it off when they add music to things. Sometimes I keep that on, but sometimes they do funny things and I turn that off. But you have a lot of control when it comes to your Advantage Plus placement. So give it a go, play around. But also think of the creatives as individual pieces of communication that needs to be tested. All right. The third thing that I'm predicting is going to have an impact on your ads in 2025 because it has had an impact not just in 2024, but in forever, is building a conversion ecosystem. And what I mean by that is really thinking beyond ads, thinking about your customer success journey, thinking about that most profitable customer journey, and thinking about ways to identify different segments in your audience that have different pain points, that have different desires, and that are in different phases of their consideration journey. And what I mean by that is people can be pain aware, but have no awareness of a solution that exists, and even less of an awareness of your solution. Or they can be pain aware and solution aware and already be seeking some kind of a relief to their pain. And those are the people you want to target with cold ads because they would already be looking for help. Or they could be specific solution shopping already. So they're pain aware, they're solution aware, and they're ready to buy. If you can get those, great. But don't waste your time. Don't spend your time chasing those. You will find those anyway. Alrighty. So, how you're going to do this is I want you to make sure that you create separate landing pages for your organic traffic versus your paid traffic. Because let's think about the typical, let's say, course creator and coach. So, let's first take the course creator. You probably run list building ads most of the year. You're probably live launching once or twice a year, maybe even 4 times a year. You're filling your live webinar or your video series launch or your challenge or some kind of some launch mechanism in a short period of time. You might be running ads to that. And then, you might be running some launch ads like cart open ads, cart close ads, those sorts of things. How are you going to know which of the people that bought your course came from ads so that you can know exactly how much the money you spent on ads actually resulted in money in your pocket, especially if you're still slaving away and working hard on social media, which means you want to know every dollar that you spend is turning into money so that you can stop putting your energy in. But how are you going to know that unless you have a specific landing page for your paid traffic and one for your organic traffic so that you can tag people as having been obtained? I mean, you know what I mean when I say obtained. The lead was obtained via money, not via energy. The second thing is have a strong email nurture sequence. Make sure when people opt in for your lead magnet, you welcome them. You tell them what to expect. You warm them to your world. You give them more value. You tell them what to expect in terms of how often they're going to get emails. You send them to your podcast. You send them to your best blog posts. You send them another lead magnet for free so that they get all your best stuff and they want to stick around. And that's how you create quality leads. And that's part of building the relationship beyond just the ad. All right. Okay, let's land this plane. Let's wrap this up. What are you going to do to prepare for 2025 so that your ads can be consistently profitable and help you create that freedom empire that you are invested in creating by turning your knowledge into courses and coaching that people can buy? You're going to start by auditing your current ad settings, and you will do that using my blog post called Meta Update: Preparing Your Account for Advantage Audiences Part 1. And you may even want to look at the other post called Stop Losing Meta Ad Sales, Your 2025 Guide to Privacy Changes and Conversion Tracking. And they'll both be linked in the show notes right here in episode 229. You are going to develop content for various placements. So you're going to create content for the newsfeed and content for reels and stories, but not just for the different placements. I want you to also create different content for the different subsections of your audience. I said earlier, I'm going to tell you how this is playing out in my business. When I'm running ads, at the moment, I'm running ads for the 10K, make your first 10K guide. And I have created creatives for this ad that speaks to podcasters, that speaks to vloggers, that speaks to influencers, that speaks to coaches, that speaks to course creators, that speaks to authors, that speaks to industry leaders, thought leaders, because all of them want to make 10K from selling their knowledge, but all of them have a slightly different pain point or a slightly different desired end result. And I'm speaking to that in the ad and then generalizing it on the landing page. So develop content for different placements, but also for the different segments in your audience. Next, I want you to create a testing schedule for the creative elements. So just draw up a simple spreadsheet and decide this month, I'm going to test video versus images, and I'm going to see which one's best. Next month, I'm going to test 2 different hooks, and I'm going to see which one works best. And once I have my winning hook, I'm going to use my winning hook and test that with the copy that I use in that ad against another piece of copy or against another headline. Just pull up a simple spreadsheet every month, run a split test, choose the winner, and split test the winner against something else. And that's how you're going to keep optimizing. And then measure and monitor and optimize based on what you learn from the data. I know that is so obvious, right? But sometimes we track the data and then we don't do anything with the data. And I am just as guilty of that. So once you are tracking the data, make sure you use the data as well. All right. Remember, these changes are just about adapting to this changing environment. AI is not going anywhere. AI is going to change everything rapidly, very rapidly. But you have got this. This is about creating better connections with your ideal customers using ads. Focus on clear messaging, strong conversion systems, and consistent testing. You have got this, my friend. And if you have questions about any of what I covered today, shoot me an email, podcast@thelaunchlounge.com. I will be happy to hear from you, and I'll be happy to hear how you're using AI in your ads to personalize the experience for your ideal customers. I will see you again on Thursday, and I wish you well until then. Bye. Before you go, if today's episode helped you, imagine how many more lives could be transformed if other creators, coaches, and experts found these strategies too. Your shares and reviews help more course creators discover how to get their knowledge out into the world. Please take a moment to rate the show and leave a quick review. When you do, we get to reach more people and we make a bigger impact together. Because when more people who help people succeed, the world becomes a better place. Thank you.